Welcome back to Carib 21, where we share what's trending in and around the Caribbean. Today, I would like to talk about crime as it relates to the Caribbean. And this conversation is sparked by recent happenings in Brooklyn. The West Indian parade that took place in Brooklyn a few days ago was marred by gun violence, where we saw 5 people got shot and 1 person lost their life. So today, I'd like to address the topic of crime in the Caribbean and in the Caribbean community. So let's talk about it.
This morning, a big update here. 1 person has now died after a shooting at the West Indian American Day Parade in Brooklyn. 4 others recovering this morning.
Briella Tomasetti is in Crown Heights this morning. What do you know, Briella?
Yeah, this is absolutely an update. Rosanna and Dan, good morning to both of you. We're getting word from police that the 25-year-old man who was shot in the abdomen yesterday right along this parade route has died. We're told he was initially in critical condition, then stabilized, but then passed away later due to complications. And police do have a suspect description. At this point, they say they're looking for a man in his 20s with a slim build who was last seen wearing a brown shirt with paint stains and a black bandana. He fired his gun, according to police, numerous times into that crowd. Members of the massive crowd began running away in panic and ducking for cover. Music drowned out the barrage of gunfire at yesterday's West Indian Day Parade after a gunman shot 5 people, leaving a 25-year-old man dead. Investigators say the suspect is still on the run.
This was an intentional act by 1 person towards a group of people.
According to the NYPD, the shooting happened just after 2:30 between Classen and Franklin Avenues. The suspect allegedly got on a cement divider between the service road and parade route and opened fire on a crowd of revelers. Cops say a 69-year-old woman was hit in the shoulder, a 64-year-old man was struck in the arm, a 36-year-old man in the head, a 25-year-old in the abdomen, and a 16-year-old in the arm. The man who was shot in the abdomen later died from his injuries. The other victims are listed in stable condition.
There is an abundance of video that was on that corner in that group.
This security camera footage from a nearby business shows the chaos as it unfolded. You can see a group of people running away from the gunfire with several officers heading in the other direction. Police believe the shooting followed some sort of dispute, but it's unclear who the intended targets were. The parade went on as scheduled despite the disruption. Police placed evidence markers near bullet casings and searched from above using drones, all while thousands of people continue taking part in the festivities.
We are going to solve this, but it's going to take a lot of work.
Senator Chuck Schumer marched in the parade. He posted about the shooting after hearing that it happened. He posted his emotions, his reactions to X, writing in part, "Thank you to our first responders on the scene. I pray for everyone affected. We must keep working to end gun violence in America." Again, though, our update this morning, a 25-year-old man is now confirmed dead as a result of the shooting on what was supposed to be such a joyous occasion here in Brooklyn. For now, we're live here in Crown Heights.
So for this video, I'm hoping for a very interactive conversation. We can talk in the comment section what is going on in the Caribbean community. As we know, the past 10 years or so, in the Caribbean itself, we seem to have a spike in crime, in homicide in the Caribbean. And in this video, I'm going to show some numbers and we're going to address it in the comment section. But one of the things for Caribbean nationals living in the diaspora, we know like in New York, in Miami, in Toronto, in London, like we have always had these big celebrations where Caribbean communities would come together to celebrate as one Caribbean. But for the past, I would say 20 years or so, it's very unfortunate, but a lot of times we are faced with incident in these big parade. When it comes on to like the Brooklyn West Indian Day Parade, like there always seem to be one person trying to spoil the event for millions of people. Just imagine this over this long weekend holiday that over 1 million people got together and just one person decided to come in that crowd to shoot, and it just mar everything. And similar actions would say like in the Toronto Caribana that celebrates every year Caribbean culture. It's like police presence always have to be heightened, and we always see some incident, and we can say the same in the UK too. So what is really happening in the Caribbean community? Why it seems like every time we decide to get together as a community, something always happen within that crowd. And for years, like even talking to people, because I'm the type of person, I don't like crowd that much. Whenever we have the Caribana festival in Toronto, I try not to go down there because we have like 1 million people lining the streets, and we see like it's impossible to get on subways. Like you don't even want to drive because that is crazy. So because of that, I don't like going down there. But for a lot of people to see that a lot of people want to go and to join into the celebration, but they're wondering if it's going to be safe, if there's going to be a stampede because of some one person trying to come and either to shoot or to stab or whatever. I don't know what is going on. So guys, like sound off in the comment section. Let me know what you think about all of these Caribbean festivals in North America, in Europe, and sometimes been marred by violence. Do you think that we're being set up like it's just someone don't want us to have fun, or do you just think us in the Caribbean community, we have to like reflect on what's happening within our community, and in terms of like broken homes, in terms of lack of education, whatever is happening? But is it an inward thing? Is it something that we have to fix within? What do you think? Just sound off in the comment section and let me know what you think. But for me, like I've always felt like it is going to get very sticky for us as a people, because I believe that if like the Caribbean, say the Toronto Caribbean Festival, the Brooklyn Caribbean Festival, and all the festival that's happening in North America and in Europe, it's just a matter of time if these major cities, it become like a problem for them to keep us safe. My fear is that eventually they're going to shut it down, and then we're going to cry like prejudice or racism, or why do they have to shut down our festival? And I don't know, is it just our festivals, or are there problems with other festivals? I'm not sure of the details. Like the St. Patrick's Day Parade, I know it's a big thing across North America and some places in Europe where millions of people go out in the street too. Are those events marred with incident like the Caribbean or the West Indian parades? The Pride parades, are they marred with incident the same way? So these are questions that we're going to have to ask ourselves. Is it mostly the Caribbean festivals that are marred by these type of acts? And do you think that eventually these leaders in these communities are going to say, you know what, we can't allow you to have these big parades anymore because of the chance of incidents? Just sound off and let me know what you think in the comment section. With the Caribbean being such a beautiful tropical place that gives you peace of mind, you would think that the Caribbean would have like one of the lowest in terms of crime, in terms of homicide. But based on the numbers out there, the Caribbean seem to be very high in terms of the crime index and in terms of homicide. So I'm going to give you some number based on the crime index, and later on I'm going to give you some numbers based on homicide. So in the Caribbean, based on the crime index, like Haiti is number one with 77.9%, Trinidad 70.8%, Jamaica 68.1%, US Virgin Island 62.1%, Puerto Rico 61.7%, Dominican Republic 60.5, Bahamas 56.5, Barbados 47.1, and Cuba 33.4. And that is the crime index that measures, like, out of 100,000, this is crime that takes place out of every 100,000 people in those population. So, and these are like top numbers also in the world. And when you like living in North America, whenever I encounter people that, especially people that live here, that they're from Jamaica, a lot of people think that Jamaicans would leave Jamaica to go to the USA, to go to Canada, because of lack of opportunity. But what I've noticed in the past recent 5 to 10 years, I'm seeing a lot more Jamaicans, in particular because I'm Jamaican, I'm seeing a lot more Jamaicans that are coming from to do jobs in Jamaica, that they are not deprived of resources. They were doing very well back home. And when you talk to them and you ask, why would you leave being a doctor, or why would you leave being a teacher, or whatever job, like in finance, why would you leave that job to come to Canada, to come to America to start over? And 99.9% of the times, a lot of them would say because of the crime, and they want their kids to grow up in a more stable country. They are well off in those countries. They are not in need of resources, but because of the crime, and that is very sad. So guys, just as I said, sound off in the comment section and let me know your experience. If you're living in Canada, you're living in the USA, you're living in the UK, were you in this type of position where you were doing well back home, whether it's in Jamaica, Trinidad and Tobago, Barbados, you were doing pretty well, but because of the crime, and you want your child to have a better life, a more stable economy, a more safe place to live, you had to make that move to come to North America or to go to Europe. Sound off in the comment section and let me know what you think about this. So next up, I'm going to give some numbers based on the homicide rate in the Caribbean, so you can have an idea of what is really taking place in this beautiful Caribbean region that we call home. Okay, so in this segment, we're going to take a look at the top 10 most dangerous countries in the world when it comes on to homicide. And this data is according to the United Nations Office of Drug and Crime, the UNODC. So feel free to research this information for yourself. But at the top of the list, we have Jamaica with 53.3, and that's murder, and it's rated, the homicide, it's per 100,000 people. So for every 100,000 people living in the island of Jamaica, you can expect 53.3. And this rate was as of 2022. That's what it was in 2022. So Jamaica number 1. At the bottom of the list is Ecuador with 27 murders out of every 100,000 people. But what is shocking about this report is that how many Caribbean islands are listed on this report. So Jamaica number 1, 53.3 homicides in 2022. Number 2 is St. Vincent and the Grenadines with 40.4. Trinidad and Tobago 39.5. St. Lucia 36.7. And Bahamas is on this list with 31.2. St. Kitts and Nevis 29.4. Belize also on this list 27.9. And this is murder per 100,000 people. I've sat in different spaces and we have had this conversation over and over again for years, for decades, about what is it really that's causing crime, the increase of crime in the Caribbean. And people, the first thing people go to like is poverty. But for me, like I say, is it really poverty? Because the Caribbean as a region, no, which is like top in terms of crime in the world, it's not, by far not the poorest region. There are other regions, there are places in Africa, there are places in Asia that are not making as much money per household like the Caribbean. So crime, I don't know, like it could be a contributing factor, but like even myself growing up in Jamaica where it was extremely poor compared to now, where we would eat like cornmeal for dinner, like we'd eat what people call dog food now. That's what we would have for dinner a lot of times. And sometimes we'd go to bed hungry, but the crime rate was not that high at the time in Jamaica. So it's you'd have to factor in everything. And I would say, yes, poverty could be a part of it. And then people try to blame the music. But then when you look in other countries that are not registered high on the crime index, you see that there are like violence in terms of movies, there are violence in terms of video games, there are violence in terms of music also. So I don't know, just, as I said, sound off in the comment section. Let me know your opinion. What do you think is the root cause of crime in the Caribbean? Is it lack of education? Is it poverty? Is it the music? And I think one thing that is more evident today than it was back in the days, it's like broken homes. I believe that there are more broken homes today. There are more children having children out there. There are more fatherless homes, and everyone is just doing their thing, and kids are left to raise themselves. So, but I don't know what it is, but at some point, we're going to have to find solutions and come together as a Caribbean region, because it's not just, gone are the days when it was like just Jamaica or it was just Haiti in the Caribbean, but no, for whatever reason, it seemed to be the entire Caribbean as a region that's trending up in terms of the crime index. So guys, sound off in the comment section. Let me know, what do you think is the root cause of crime in the Caribbean? Do you think there's any way that the leaders in the Caribbean can come together and to try and fix this problem? Just sound off in the comment section and let me know what you think about this. And don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more amazing content. And remember, peace. I'm out.